Hi friends, my name's Adrian, and in today's video we're going to continue this template on doing this website in WordPress. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom product which isn't going to actually have a price. It's going to have a contact form. So it'll work more or less the same, but we'll create a special section here to check whether we're going to apply a custom form or not, and we'll apply it in the section here on the left. So let's take a look at how we can create this. What we'll do is we'll start off by creating a product for this. So what I'm thinking is what we'll do is we'll jump into WooCommerce products, and we've already had a product previously set for the skip bins, and they were sort of variation products. But since this doesn't actually have any variation, I'm just thinking that we'll do a standard product for this. So over here, I'm going to add it in. And in this case, we want this 15-meter square bin. So I'm going to pass it in over here. We'll copy over some of the content that we've created on our other bins here, such as the description and whatnot. So I'm just going to copy and paste those across. The other thing we want to do is add the feature image in here. And this would have to be just over here. So I'm going to see if I already have this image exported here in our products, and we do. We have this 15-meter one. So I'm just going to select to upload, and we're just going to drag it straight in. So it looks like that's already in there, and I'm just going to select that. With that in there now, we can add out some of the other content in here. So in this case, for example, I'm going to copy over these dimensions. We're also going to put in the properties over here. So let's actually copy those here into our code. So I think that was 15 trailers and 60 bins. I'm just going to copy that over as well. And finally, for the full title, not too sure exactly what this one is. I think we have an example of it maybe somewhere else in our code, which is this one over here, a 15-meter square hook lift bin. And we'll paste this here into our full title. I'm not going to give this one a price. I'm just going to leave it as is, but we will select this to have a product category of bin. And I think that's about it. I'm going to hit publish on this one over here, and let's take a look at what we actually get when we have a look at this one. And if we see, we do get some of the basic information there, but we're not going to get that product variation design. Now, in order to get that, we might actually have to create this product as a product variation. So I'm going to jump in here, and I'm going to set this one here as a variable product. We're not going to give it any variations or prices though, so I'm just going to hit update, and we'll give this a shot, and hopefully it'll just load into our page with that additional content that we need. It looks like we have, but this product is currently out of stock or unavailable is the text we get here, and we want to replace this text with essentially this bit over here where we design a contact form. And this will be for a price enquiry. So let's see if we can update WooCommerce to do that for us. And we'll try and jump in here to the section where we'll set it up. And in this case, I think it's going to be under our single product. And we want to go to those thumbnails that we were setting before, I think, or the images. And this is where we get that section. Now, here is our script so that if we don't have any variations, we're getting currently this message over here. And I want to be able to edit this message, and I want to put in a contact form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into our administration tools here, and we're going to create a contact form for that. I'm just going to add a new one here, and I'm thinking something like price inquiry. Let's put this in price enquiry. And in here we have a few fields. So name, phone, email, suburb, delivery, and pickup date. Let's copy these over to our contact form. So I'm just going to move this here to the right and we'll start putting these in. So in here, I'll put a placeholder and this will be your name. Let's remove the labels because we won't be using those. We'll do another one here for the email. Let's add a placeholder for that one too. Email address. We'll also want one for the phone number. So I'll pass in tel here and we'll do this as your number. And we'll put in phone number here for the placeholder. Then after that, we want to add the suburb or the postcode in here. So I'm going to select this as text. We'll put in your suburb in here and we'll add the placeholder in suburb or postcode. And then we also want 2 dates. Now, in this case, we're not going to do a date because we don't have a date selector for this. But what we do have is just a plain, I suppose, text field, which we can enter that in. So let's do delivery date here. And we'll do this as your delivery date. And we'll copy this same text one here over here. And this can be your pickup date. Let's pass this in just like that. And we'll also pass this as pickup date. Great. And finally, we'll have this last field, which is sort of just a field for additional information. So we'll add in a placeholder for that, and that'll be open-ended as a text area. So I'll just put an additional information. Great. And finally, we'll have this send product enquiry button. So I'll paste this in here below. I also usually remove the line breaks from these because if we keep those in, I've noticed that contact forms likes to add in p tags, and that sometimes gets a little bit complicated. So we've got our contact form in there now. What we can do is we can also maybe add this content in here to that contact form. And I'm thinking of just pasting it here below, but we'll do a nice H3 sizing for this. And this one here can maybe have a P tag. But what I want to be able to do is I want to have the same styling apply that we've done to other sections. And I think I had some content previously for that. And this is just over here, I think, maybe, instant quote. And this was with the class title, and here's another class called description. And this is how these were being applied. So in a way, we could pass in those same sort of items here to be able to do that. And I might give that a try to start off with, but for the time being, we'll just keep them standard like this. So let's hit save on that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy over this shortcode. And I'm going to place it in here. So I'm going to comment this whole section out. And we'll open up the PHP tag here. We'll echo out a do underscore shortcode. And the shortcode we want to do is this product enquiry one. And we'll close off the PHP tag here at the end. Now I'm going to hit save on that. We're going to go here into our product, and let's quickly double check this here. And it seems that this whole section already sort of exists like this. So when we refresh it, I've got a feeling that we're going to lose a bit of that styling, but it looks like most of that has come across okay. Now, the only issue is that we don't need all of this instant quote section that we have above. So to remove that, we might pass in this same sort of query in here. Now what I'm thinking is that we could pass it in here at the very top, and we'll actually set this as a if script. And then we're going to close this entire if script off just here below, which we'll do as a end if. And I think that should do it. We'll do a quick little refresh on that. And I think maybe that hasn't done it for us the way I want. Let's take a quick look at what's happening here. And I think the issue that's happening is that we haven't actually defined any of these early on in our code here. And we'll need to be able to do that before we can really do anything else. I'm just going to move this whole section up a little bit, maybe near the top of our content up here. And I'm going to hit save on that. And hopefully that should fix that up. And when we refresh now, it looks like that still hasn't done it exactly the way I want. So we definitely do have the product variations being applied in here. And we also are checking if that exists. I might pass in some more syntax here. And let's give that another refresh. And looks like that still hasn't done it. So let's see why that's not happening. What I might do is I might actually grab this whole section with the else section in here. Or maybe I'll just copy out the else in general. And what I want to be able to do is we'll pass this in over here. So for example, if we have product variations, we'll essentially be doing this content here with our contact form. Otherwise, we'll be passing in the options here for the variations. So let's give that a refresh. And when we do, it looks like that has taken effect. So that's looking a little bit better. Now we're going to clean this up just a little bit before we move on. So here, where we have the price inquiry, I'm going to pass in a class here of title. And here in our p tag, we're going to pass in a class of description. I think that should be it. We'll give that another refresh here in our code, and hopefully that title turns green and our text looks a little bit better. The only other thing that we do need to do here is maybe customize the inputs for these. And what I'm thinking is that we should really utilize similar inputs to what we're doing in our other sides of the design, such as in our WooCommerce section. So let's find some inputs we've created in the past. And I think we have a few examples of those. So I'm just going to have a look over here. And here's a few different examples. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some code for this. And what I want to do is I want to place this code here inside of our section for the product image instant quote holder. So let's jump in here and we'll pass this class in, or we'll even look for it. So even if we don't pass it in, we can pass it in just like this, and we'll hit save on that, and just to see if that styling starts applying. So I think maybe it hasn't just yet. So let's take a look what's going on. So it has been applied here, but it doesn't have enough priority. So what we're going to do is we're also going to pass in the form class over here. So let's pass that in just like this. And we'll place these inputs in here, and we'll give this another refresh. And that seems to have taken effect a little bit better. Then what we want to be able to do is maybe add just the smallest bit of margin to the bottom over here. So I'm thinking something like 5 pixels should do. Let's refresh that and take a look. So that looks a little bit better. And then after that, what we want to do is for the submit. So let's find an item with a submit. We want to pass in this coloring. So I'm just going to pass it in from our previous one as an example here. and that should come in just fine. And we also want to remove the border. So I'm going to set the border here to none. And that should look a little bit better, I think. Great. Now, if we take a look at the design, we also have black text on that. So I'm going to just do the text color here to black. And we'll do a quick refresh to that to make sure that's okay. And the inputs here looks like they don't have a border in general. So I'm going to get rid of that, and hopefully they can look a little bit better that way too. They also have maybe 1 extra pixel of margin there at the bottom. So I'll increase that. And I think that should be about it. We do have a bit of a larger gap here at the bottom of this section. And I think that's simply because we have some content in there or something like that. Let's take a look. Yeah, we have a Ajax response here for our contact form. So we can leave that in, but at least this sort of gets us started. We also seem to have a bit of extra margin here at the top for our step 1, which is active. So I wonder what that is. I think this is something's happening here, and I think this is because we've got our styling here for these bin section. And when these aren't active, they're actually still doing something in there and causing us to have a bit of spacing. So we might have to get rid of that spacing over here. So let's have a look at where that is. And this is this quick bin selector, and it really shouldn't have any height, but it looks like it does have a padding of about 30 pixels, which is being applied. So let's actually browse into that section over here. And here where we have that 30 pixels, I'm going to set this to 0 and only apply those once we're active. And I'm going to refresh that, and hopefully we'll remove that additional bit of padding there. So that looks a little bit better, and then that comes in just fine. Great, so we're almost done with this section here. I think we'll just double check what this looks like throughout the rest of our website. So over here, I can see that it has come up as another item. We should be rearranging this so that it's the last item, but that's okay for the time being. The other part is that if we select a suburb in here, it isn't actually coming in. It is coming in there, but it doesn't have a price. So while we can select this one, nothing actually happens. So we're going to have to make sure that it doesn't show up on our autocomplete section here. Or if it does, we need it to show up last, and we need it to still link through to maybe just its individual page rather than just essentially not working at all. So let's have a look at making sure that we set this item up as showing up last. And I think the easiest way to do this, because I think they're organized by date right now, is probably just to set this one up as published a little bit earlier. So I'm going to set this one to published in maybe February and hit update to that. And let's take a look at what happens when we do. We'll refresh our page over here, and hopefully that shows up last. But if it's not, let's jump into our page templates over here in Home. And we'll have a look at what we're arranging by. And it looks like we're arranging here by the title. But since this has a number 1 here in the title, it's actually coming up first. So this is the reason we're having this issue. So the other thing we could do, for example, is we could remove this order by date. And if we do, we'll be arranging the products by the date that we publish them in. Now this means that this one will show up last, but some of these other ones are misarranged a little bit there. So I'm going to arrange them by just editing the date at which they're published. So this one here, I'm probably going to publish this one here in January, since I want this one to show up last. Then I'm going to jump into the other ones over here, and I'm going to edit the dates respectively, going from January onwards. So this one here, I'll publish this one in February and hit update. This one over here will publish in March. There are other ways to do this, like arranging the order properly with an order ID, but sometimes we don't need to do that. Sometimes the simplest option is the easiest, and in this case, just publishing it by date makes sense. And now you can see that they're all in order. They're not in order up here yet, I don't think, so that's because we haven't done the arrange section here in our header. So we'll jump into our header over here, and we'll also comment out this order, and that should place them in there. We might even, I think we can leave this to 4 per post for the time being. So we'll hit save on that, and we'll do another refresh here, and we can see that that 15-meter one actually comes up last. Now, it'd be good if we could take a look if this product variation basically has any variations or not, and display a different price if it doesn't, because right now we don't have any text for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to paste that same sort of code in here. And here we've got our full title. Let's have a look at where we actually have our price here, and I think that's here in the header. We've got our pricing section in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this bit of code that we're using, and we're going to also pass in a PHP of if else, I think it was. Let me double check. It was else. So we'll pass that in here as a tag. And then finally, we'll close off the end if tag over here where we actually paste in the price. Now, if we don't have a price, what I want us to do is maybe do something like on request or something like this. So let's actually refresh and place this here. And if we do, we can see we have our on request text here. Now we could have a different bit of text, so maybe something like order. Since we don't have that much room to actually put in text, I think that might work out a little bit better. And the only other thing now that we have to do is maybe place in a different A tag over here if we have a variation product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that same script over here. But in this case, I'm going to create my own A tag. And this A tag will actually have a link. And I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll pass in a PHP of the permalink in here. And this will just link directly to the content. We can remove the on-click handler as well as all these other handlers, or we could even keep them empty for the time being, and we'll hit save on that. Now what I can do is I can just place in, I should be able to refresh this entire page, and we can put in a new suburb, and we've got our normal items here, but this one here, it doesn't seem to have come across with a URL just yet. So let's have a look at why that hasn't happened. Here we can see that we do have our if script applying, but I think, let's see. So this, we've actually set it the wrong way around, I think. So we'll actually paste this back in here and we'll reverse the order here. So here, if we do not have product variations, we display the permalink. Otherwise, then we display our custom on-click handler. So let's refresh on that once more. We'll hit to select a suburb. Here are our custom ones, which goes straight to our cart. So if we select one of these, we can see that it's taking us straight to the checkout. But for example, if we were to select a suburb in here and click order, for this larger one, it actually takes us to the product page. So it looks like we've got this whole section working now, and I'm pretty happy with that. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how to customize that. The only other thing I'm going to do now is just add this new product here into our menu. So I'm just going to go in here, and in our products, I'm just going to add it up here. And that should be just about it. So that's looking really good. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on customizing a single product variation to work a little bit different with a basically a contact form if we don't have a price. It's a good way to essentially do orders where you might be out of stock or something like that and have a bit of a different workflow. If you like this video, hit like, hit subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.